On the show, I've spoken a lot about why I support police. I support police because they bet their lives every day. And as we saw earlier this year, 4 police officers in Victoria lost their life when, by the side of the road, they were cleaned up by a car. This was during a routine traffic incident. Now, also, in New South Wales, I've talked about how for way too long they count assaulting police in the crime statistics as stable. Stable is about 7 officers every single day. It's about 6.8, but 7 officers every single day of every week, of every month, almost every year. There was a horrible example about what officers have to deal with. That is the crazies and the crazy that they had to deal with on the Central Coast in the past couple of days. Have a look at this for the wild stuff police have to deal with every day, and it's why I support them, because they walk towards stuff like this when the rest of us walk the other way.
Don't do it without
Stop resisting.
you.
Don't grab me, mate!
21 urgent. The female police officer had her hair pulled from her head, and all of this was in response to a domestic violence call. Amazingly, this footage was aired tonight on Channel 7, on Channel 9 and on Channel 10. It was not aired tonight on the ABC because the ABC did not want to air that footage. That is a disgrace. Of course, they'll run every sort of anti-cop story, but an example about what they have to deal with, well, time to look the other way. A man who's spoken to both of these officers and can tell us what they are, how they're doing after these assaults is the Police Minister in New South Wales, David Elliot. Minister, good evening. Nice to talk to you. How are those coppers doing tonight?
Well, they're actually remarkably well, considering what they went through, and anybody who looks at that footage would probably agree that it's not the kind of job for everybody. But I've spoken to both the officers, and I've encouraged them to take as much sick leave as they are entitled to, and both of them, in their early 30s, said to me they can't wait to get back to work, you know, that this was the job. Unfortunately, the young lady, the young constable, she said that wasn't the first time that she'd been assaulted like that. And all I can do is say to them, listen, on behalf of the people of New South Wales, a hearty thank you, our gratitude, our love and respect, and please come back to work as quickly as possible, because we need you on that front line. Yeah,
look, I won't drag you into the culture wars of things, but it is really important that we keep talking about the reality of policing, because there are those that will jump on the odd example of something where we don't know what the 5 seconds are before an incident, but the reality of policing is exactly what we saw there. And the idea that 7 officers every day are confronted with assault is a disgrace. The fact that it is counted as stable in the crime statistics, to me, is offensive. And we've said it many times. Cops aren't punching bags, but they need to know that when they go through an experience like that, the majority of people are behind them. The government has made it clear about the special penalties for people who assault police, but what, if anything, are police telling you that they need more of in terms of protection from government?
Well, as I said, I speak to, and whenever an officer is injured in the line of duty, I make it my duty to call them and thank them on behalf of the people of New South Wales, check on their welfare, give them my private number so that if the police, for whatever reason, aren't doing the right thing by them, they can contact me directly. Now, not once have they ever said to me, this could have been avoided because of A, B, C. They all say to me that this is because this is society. This is the culture that they have to face. This is the side of policing that certain media outlets don't want anybody to hear about, but it's the side of policing that is what we're very grateful exists, because without this sort of protection, we don't continue to be the civilized society that we are. But I said to the Commissioner and the Police Association and my parliamentary colleagues, and including the Premier, over the weekend, I just had a gutful of spending every morning ringing police officers that had been injured overnight and asking them how they're going. So I've actually asked for a parliamentary committee which will be led by 2 former police officers that are now in Parliament, and I want to know why Why are people beating up cops? When you and I were young, if a police officer said jump, you'd say how high. When you and I are young, if a police officer came to the door or came to the school or came to your football club, there would be a level of respect and decorum at the occasion. But at the moment, when you see them all being spat on and you're seeing them being abused, when their very sworn oath of office tells them that whoever assaults them may well require the protection of the police the very next day, and they've got to provide that protection, I think we've got something slightly wrong in society. Now, 99% of the population, I'm convinced, respect and love the New South Wales Police Force. We have the best community engagement in the world. But there's that 1% that are becoming, using this as some sort of political football, a political message, some sort of radical breakout or campaign against the establishment. And I want to know why, and I want to know what we can do to stop it.
Well, this is it. I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago, we had people holding up signs, only good cops, a dead cop in Sydney. But what about those media organisations? I called them out. You know, you saw this everywhere, but you didn't see it on Channel 2. Apparently they did not want to run this footage at all. An example about what police, what happens to them. Instead, if there's a bad story they can run against the cops and something that might happen in an arrest, that leads their 7 p.m. news. What does it say to you that they don't even want to receive this footage?
Well, Paul, I've gone from being angry about that sort of reporting to just plain disappointed. I'm very grateful for those media outlets that actually do show what the thin blue line is. But I am very disappointed that, you know, of you said the 7 police a day. I can tell you the briefs that come over my desk about the magnificent work that the police do. Today, Superintendent Rob Critchlow of Task Force Raptor took 700 guns off the streets. But the ABC, they just want to run that story about how one officer may or may not have done the wrong thing. They completely ignored the work from Assistant Commissioner Mick Willing last weekend when we had those protests, those illegal protests where there was minimal disruption to the city and virtually no injuries to the community. And they're the stories that I think, as the police minister, I want to get out. But I tell you what, I'm pretty sick of people thinking that because the police force itself has got to be apolitical, well, then they can use it as some sort of political message. No,
agree completely. Minister, all the best, and all the best to all the officers watching us and working. That, of course, happened 10:25 just last night. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks, Paul.